Over the course of my profession thus far, I have had several people approach me who have previously hired ghostwriters, editors, that have not done justice to their work, to what they wanted to produce. But they have been charged huge sums of money, thousands of dollars. In a recent example, a more mature lady approached me to read over her final book before it gets published as a legacy memoir for her children, grandchildren, and future descendants. She had recently been through an editor, a first-time editor that had done a diploma online through, I don't know what institute. It wasn't a university or polytechnic, but it was their first time doing editing. And the client was charged thousands of dollars. And before I read this book, I sat with this woman and sat with the client, and I asked her, what was she trying to achieve? What's the purpose of the book? You know, was she wanting to publish it to the market, mass market, or was she just doing it for her descendants? Basically what her goals were in writing this book. So I understood the assignment. So then I took the book and I read the book. It was a manuscript because it wasn't published. This first-time editor, now I don't knock anyone in my profession, whether you're a first-time or an experienced editor, because we all need to learn. We all learn from our mistakes. We all learn and better our craft as we go. So I'm not going to say anything on the editor, but what had happened is, for an overall generalized statement, once I finished reading the book, I went back to the client and said that I don't think the editor understood the assignment, because what's happened is this is a legacy memoir and all the personalization had been taken out of this legacy memoir and it had been turned into a travel guidebook with no personalization. But the client had been charged thousands and thousands of dollars. This sort of thing really breaks my heart, because in this profession, I see many people, well, not many people, but I know of instances where people have been taken advantage of because they don't know the process of publishing a book or bringing a book to life. And there are editors or ghostwriters out there that take advantage of this and charge huge sums of money and really don't understand the assignment or do the work properly. So I actually said to this lady, she was devastated when I went back to her with 5 pages of notes about what I thought of the book. And basically, one of the overall notes or themes throughout the whole edited book was that there was no personalization. There was no legacy memoir there. There was no story of this woman. It was just a travel guide. So there was nothing about this woman that the future descendants would learn about. And so I actually said to her, I'll help you. And I volunteered my services. I'm doing a complete developmental edit, and complete rewrite with her, free of charge. Because I don't like seeing people who want to produce a book or a legacy memoir or a memoir being taken advantage of in this industry. And it goes through every industry. It's not just this industry, okay? But it really got me thinking, because I also know that with each generation, stories are lost. You probably would be hard-pressed to find a World War I or World War II veteran still around these days to go and hear their stories in person, right? Those stories are lost. They're gone. If they haven't been recorded already, they're gone. You know, same with your grandparents or your great-grandparents' stories. If they weren't told or passed down through generations, they're gone. You'll never learn them. And I sometimes go to secondhand or antique bookstores to see if I can pick up any gems. Because also being a writer, I love to read. Not all writers love to read, but I love to read. And on 3 separate occasions, I came across printed books, printed manuscripts. So 2 of them were actually written on a typewriter, and the other one was just a printed one. These are unpublished. And I opened them while I was at the stores, and these are life stories. All 3 of them are veterans of war, talking about their travels all around the world and their military history. And they were just thrown away by the families, or if they had families, or maybe the place was an estate sale. Maybe they had maybe they had no family, and so the hospice or whatever just came and swept everything up. And these stories have never been heard. They were obviously printed for someone or written for someone, some descendant, or for some record, but have never been brought to life. And I thought, wow, these stories are amazing, but who's going to get to see them? If I was the family member and I knew this existed, but I didn't know where it was, I would be devastated. I would want to know where it is. So these sort of things sort of really got me thinking, because not everyone can be a legacy memoir writer. It's a kind of a real niche part of our industry. Memoir is a niche as well, but legacy memoir is different again. And so it really got me thinking, because I hate seeing people being taken advantage of. So I've decided, and it's not been a fast or reactive decision, I've decided to create a legacy memoir workbook and guided story collection series. Okay, so I've decided to start putting together a workbook for people to purchase to be able to write their own legacy memoirs guided by me. Now, obviously, if you don't want to write it, you can hire a ghostwriter, or you don't have to write it at all. But for those of you that have family members, you want to hear their stories, or you are a person that wants your story to be told, or part of your story to be told and left for future generations, this is going to be an excellent tool to help guide you to tell your story, because you may not know where to start.